I want to talk a little bit about the next assignment that I have for you. And we'll need to scroll down to Part 1, Investigative Research. So again, these demonstrations can be completed at any time of the semester. They're all due at the very end of the semester on the very last day of the very last week. So it's up to you when you wish to complete this part of the course. So going back to Investigative Research, I'm going to click on this link. Scroll down this page, and remember we had a bunch of these links down here. So this is the PDF version of the report progress checks. This is all this information in PDF if you don't like the website. So think of this as the printed version. And this is details about the progress check. So what we want to focus on before I think in the master's report it's called significant completion, are these things here. I know this seems like an awfully lot, but I can tell you right now, actually I would probably just focus on these here. If you have time, then try to get progress check number 6 in. Is that you're going to have a lot of free time at the beginning of the semester. And maybe it doesn't seem that way right now, but once you hit your significant completion check, you're going to realize that your major professor, whoever's critiquing on your committee, means that when they say significant completion, that your master's report is basically 95% complete. And some of you may not have that mentality of what significant completion is. I know I certainly didn't when I did mine. So I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of heads up. And after that significant completion meeting, it kind of hits you that everything else is kind of secondary and that master's report becomes primary. So before that kind of mindset kind of hits, try to get the majority of this done kind of really early in the semester. And then if you are in that state where you're just kind of freaking out that you might not graduate because your professor is not happy with your significant completion, you need to dedicate like 95% of your time on your master's work, you can actually do that. So what I'm going to ask is for everyone to try to complete progress checks 1 through 6. So the first one talks about topic scoping, and all of this may not apply to this particular research investigation that you're doing, but what I am doing here is I'm providing you with additional information which may or may not help you with your master's report. Some students in the past said that this kind of helped them out with their master's project work. This information was actually given to me by Professor Han, so I'm just providing you a copy of his unpublished work. So again, this is kind of the overkill list, but this is going to help you to kind of really do some topic scoping to make sure that you've chosen a good topic for TechMod. And like I said, you can apply this to your master's report if you wish. So I've written a brief introduction up here at the top, and like I said, for many of you this is going to feel like overkill. And like I said, I really believe that more information is better than not enough. You can always sort through it and figure out what's relevant and what is not. And this is really not a lot of information. This is 4 pages of information. It's in outline form, so it's not like you have to read a novel or anything like that. Going back here, so that's topic scoping. So obviously your first project progress check is going to involve you submitting what your topic is going to be. For example, I want to investigate Revit, or I want to investigate Rhino, I want to investigate photography, whatever it is that you're interested in. And it may be that you simply don't know, and if you don't know, that's something that you need to submit as well, because that's something that will need to get worked out and figured out for you. Progress check number 2. So this is where you create an InDesign layout that contains all of this header information. So that's the bold text, not this subtext. You don't need the subtext, you just need this bold text. And you can always rename these headers to something else. Like you wouldn't make it this long. You'd probably say just dilemma or something. And in here you may not say hypothesis, you may just say potential solution or something else, some sort of synonym to that. Methods I recommend keeping and maybe calling methodology instead. You want to keep results, and then you want to keep interpretation and conclusion section. And sometimes you may have an introduction instead of an abstract. Some people have both. And then you may or may not have a further investigation section. So what I recommend doing is just making these headers. So what I'm asking you to do here is to make some design decisions. What kind of font are you going to use? How is your layout going to be laid out? How are you going to organize this information? How are you going to coherently kind of tell a story? So again, students in the past have commented that this has been really helpful in getting their master's report organized. You know, it may not directly apply, but most master's report usually have an introduction section, a dilemma, a thesis, and then some methodology that you went through, some process you went through to come up with your results, and then you explain your results in your project. So you know, you can use this on your master's report if you wish, but it's not required. But I just sharing with you what students have shared with me in the past. I do want to stress that no significant font should be less than 18 points. A lot of these posters are sometimes reproduced at 11 by 17. If it's smaller than 18-point font, nobody can read it. That means your text is going to be fairly large, meaning that you're going to have to really get to the point with your text. You don't want to beat around the bush or have repetitious information. And let's see. So you want to decide where your headers are supposed to go, and then use the lorem ipsum text to fill in where you might have some text. And then just use shaded boxes or something else to indicate where you might have images in your layout. So you're just creating a poster here, not really giving much thought. You want to definitely figure out where you want your title to be and that kind of information. So you need your title, you need your name, of course, and then information such as this was for TechMod. If you want to put my name on there, it needs to be very small text, kind of put off to the side since it's very low hierarchy. Going back here, so progress check number 3 involves now filling in the text of your poster, starting with your introduction and abstract. So again, I want to stress that you don't need to worry about it being perfect. You want to give a first shot at it. Remember that we use the SE2R evaluation method, so this will be an iterative loop. If it's not where it should be, it'll get sent back to you for more editing. And then once it's where it needs to be, then a grade will be assigned. And as I've mentioned before, very few students get anything less than a 30 on these progress checks. Definition of issue, problem, or dilemma. This is basically dilemma. So now you'll need to include this, and I ask some important questions here to kind of help get you thinking on what needs to be included in that paragraph. Then we have hypothesis, and this is typically a 1 to 2 line statement. Some people for some reason like to make it 3 paragraphs. This actually needs to be pretty short. And again, I'm kind of giving you some hints as to what needs to be included in there. And if you make it this far, I would say you're pretty good. If you have some time, I would definitely get into this. Compared to everything here, this is the one right here that's going to take you the most time. So if you have time, I would definitely jump into that. If not, it will likely need to occur probably later in the semester.